I ask that they confirm Merrick Garland now to the Supreme Court so that he can take his seat in time to fully participate in its work for the American people this fall. He is the right man for the job. He deserves to be confirmed. I could not be prouder of the work that he has already done on behalf of the American people. He deserves our thanks, and he deserves a fair hearing.
It was 10.5 months ago that President Barack Obama nominated Judge Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court. Do you remember what happened afterwards? Absolutely nothing. He never got that Senate hearing or a committee vote or a full Senate vote, as the confirmation process stipulates. He got nothing, not even meetings with Republican senators. Why?
It is the president's constitutional right to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and it is the Senate's constitutional right to act as a check on a president and withhold its consent. As Chairman Grassley and I declared weeks ago and reiterated personally to President Obama, the Senate will continue to observe the Biden rule so that the American people have a voice in this momentous decision.
Okay, now let's fast forward to Tuesday night when Donald Trump announced Neil Gorsuch as his Supreme Court nominee. What's Mitch McConnell saying now?
The Senate should respect the result of the election and treat this newly elected president's nominee in the same way the nominees of other newly elected presidents have been treated.
Joining me now is Senator Richard Blumenthal, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Joy.
So this looks like blatant hypocrisy, quite frankly, on the part of Republicans who wouldn't even meet with Merrick Garland when he was nominated by Barack Obama. How do your Republican colleagues explain why they are suddenly demanding that the Democrats cooperate with them on getting Gorsuch through?
We cannot forget the way that the Republican leadership absolutely betrayed our constitutional duty to advise and consent, to have a hearing and a vote. They really stole the seat. I think it is that bluntly true. Now, Neil Gorsuch will have a hearing and a vote. I will be present at the hearing. I'm going to be asking tough questions. I have grave reservations about this nomination, and we have available, and we will use, and our Republican colleagues will recognize that we will use every tool to block this nomination if we conclude that he is out of the mainstream. And they need to recognize also that that advise and consent function that Mitch McConnell mentioned works both ways, and we need to be a responsible check to assure that the judiciary is independent. And this bullying that Donald Trump is doing through his administration, calling the judge so-called, calling the ruling outrageous, threatens the independence of the judiciary, and this process will be, in fact, a test of that independence.
So why should Democrats give Gorsuch a hearing at all? Why should Democrats meet with him? Why should they give him any more courtesy if you yourself say that the seat has been stolen? Why are Democrats cooperating at all? Why are you going to even participate in those hearings?
We have a constitutional duty. Just because the Republicans betrayed and violated their duty, in my view, gives us no right to tell the American people we're just going to trash the Constitution, as the Republicans did. Two wrongs don't make a right, and the simple, blunt political truth is they control the process, so they can have a hearing in any event.
Well, is this, I mean,
we'll participate.
A lot of Democratic voters believe that this is why Democrats don't win, right? That Democrats try to play by the Marquis de Queensberry rules, they try to do the right thing, and Republicans just roll over you guys. They're never going to play by the rules. Every time a Democratic president puts up a Supreme Court nominee, they will do anything on earth. I mean, you had John McCain threatening to keep the seat open for 4 years if Hillary Clinton won. Why is it that Democrats don't seem to be playing the same game Republicans do? Republicans would not have given Hillary Clinton a nominee that she put forward, probably even a hearing.
We are playing by the same rules. We are going to use those rules, just as the Republicans did, to block this nominee if we conclude he's out of the mainstream. And many of us have those same grave concerns. But, Joy, this Supreme Court nomination is to the highest court in the land. It's for a lifetime appointment. We have a duty to consider it seriously. Now, I recognize that a lot of folks feel the seat was stolen, and I share that view. But we have an obligation to block the nomination if we conclude this person is unfit, or any other person, because the Supreme Court is different from a cabinet nomination. The 60-vote rule should apply, and we will use every tool to block this nomination for as long as is necessary if we conclude he's out of the mainstream.
And do you fear that the Republicans would just pull the nuclear option if Democrats are too recalcitrant and would just make all Supreme Court nominations 51 votes? Is that what you guys are worried about?
As of today, the Republicans are talking about the nuclear option, but I believe we would have the votes to defeat an effort to change the rules, which is what the nuclear option is, and make the nomination subject to a 50-vote majority. And the reason is, I think, number one, the Republicans recognize the shoe can always be on the other foot, and number two, that the Supreme Court ought to be given the importance it deserves. There shouldn't be a razor-thin majority for a Supreme Court nominee to be confirmed. It ought to be a bipartisan consensus, and I have doubts that there will be any bipartisan consensus. But to go back to that question, Joy, I think it is imperative for people to understand we're going to fight as long and hard as possible, but we are going to comply with the Constitution.
All right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, Senator Richard Blumenthal. Appreciate it.
Thank you.